I want to quickly highlight some things that we're doing on the environmental front and community relations, and then I want to spend more of my time speaking about the economic impact of transit, our strategic planning process, and what are the next steps that we see that are important to carry out and grow the transit system, the intermodal transit system in Rhode Island. Just to highlight quickly some of the environmental things that we have done, we've been focusing on how we can reduce our carbon footprint at RIPTA. We've competitively received 2 TIGR grants to invest $1.8 million in our facilities for energy efficiency and for solar investments. We've taken $14 million of our stimulus funds, almost 1/3 of our stimulus funds, to buy the hybrid technology so that 28% of our fleet will be hybrid buses when they have all arrived. We completed a new maintenance administrative building, including many energy efficiency features, which will reduce our electric costs and our heating bills and help reduce stormwater runoff. In our investments with the community, we've been partnering with all the communities and trying to create new partnerships to better serve the people of Rhode Island. Partnering with Providence, we've sought and received $1.6 million in funds that will carry out some of the goals of our metropolitan transit study. We've got $700,000 for a bus livability grant to make improvements in Kennedy Plaza, and a $900,000 HUD grant to improve the 5 busiest transit routes in the metropolitan area. I should say that that grant was given to RIPTA and the City of Providence to study the Providence routes, but we're going to work with the adjoining communities so that, because a route doesn't stop at a city line, it goes into the adjacent communities, so we're going to look to extend that study into the adjacent communities. $4.3 million have been received in a TSA grant. We're going to work with Rhode Island Emergency Management to develop an interoperable radio communication system to integrate our RIPTA system with the state radio system so that we can work together and hopefully reduce the cost of operating radio systems. And so that's nearly $8 million in competitive funding to make improvements to the system. But what I really wanted to spend time talking about is what is the economic impact of transit, a good intermodal transit system, to really talk about our strategic plan. 2 years ago, Site Selection magazine, one of the biggest magazines that talks about how businesses work to find where they're going to expand and grow, noted that the second most important item that businesses look at is a good intermodal transit system. Economically strong metropolitan areas have great intermodal transit systems. And that it's important for us in Rhode Island to really think about how we grow that system, how we get people out of their cars, and whether it's on a train or on a bus or in one of the RIPTA vans or on their bicycle, how they get from point A to point B in a way that reduces the carbon footprint, reduces the automobile use, and allows us to grow economically. My day job is working for the City of Providence, and we spend a lot of time working with businesses. And one of the things that we've been pushing very hard is the RIPTA Eco Pass. This is something that Blue Cross Blue Shield offers to their employees and has many people using. It's a discounted bus pass that Blue Cross subsidizes for their employees so that people don't bring their cars to the city. It has been a benefit not only for RIPTA, but for the employees and for the City of Providence that sees less vehicles coming in. To date, 12 companies have agreed to do this. The City of Providence is offering it to city employees, and others are talking to us about how we can to do this, how we can expand the system, how we can get more people into buses. Transit enhancements. We've also worked with communities to look at how we can make better bus stops, how we can share the federal dollars we get by working with the community where the community matches the 20% to build a better bus shelter so that the people who are actually waiting for the bus, whether it's in Newport or in Providence or Cranston or some other community, can actually work with us to make our system better, to better serve the needs of the people. So with the thought that transit is important for a good economic base, we sat down and started thinking about how we would develop our 5-year strategic plan. We pulled in Kevin Flynn from the Office of State Planning and started looking at the state land use plan and realized that in the state land use plan, that sets an urban growth boundary where we're going to try to concentrate a lot of development, and the rest of the state is deemed as a lower density, more rural area. And with that designation, we were forced to really think about the fact that there has to be different standards, different ways to address the transit needs. I think it was Representative Walsh raised Westerly and its needs in Westerly. Well, we have to think about how we can address the Westerly issues while we think about how we address the Cranston, Pawtucket, and Providence issues. They're different. There's different needs. And so we have been working very hard to try to figure that out. The legislature, in its wisdom, designated RIPTA the mobility manager a few years ago. And we take that role very seriously. We want to work very closely with other state agencies to figure out how we create that intermodal system. The Department of Transportation has been working very hard on rail, but rail is part of mobility. We have to see how we integrate and merge these things together. So working together, we've actually begun to form a strategic plan that addresses a variety of issues. And we're out for public comment right now and hope in January to adopt that plan. But one of the things about adopting a plan is that the plan is only as good as the actions that we take after that plan is adopted. And this morning, the Strategic Planning Committee, RIPTA Strategic Planning Committee, sat and met to begin reviewing the comment that was received from the public and started talking about what are the next steps that we have to achieve. And there's 4 major steps that we really have to think about once the strategic plan is complete. One is, what is the strategic management plan? How do we actually carry out and implement the plan that is talked about? Second is the budgeting aspect. We not only have to tie our operating budget, but our capital budget into trying to achieve the plan that is laid out. Third is we have to look at the service standards. RIPTA has service standards that go back 15, 20 years, and that talks about how we make a decision whether we're going to add a route or subtract a route. And a community, whatever community it is, if they want bus service, there's no direction to them about what we will consider and what we won't consider. So we need to go in and change our service standards in a way that we give direction to the communities out there that, you develop in this particular way. You follow the growth center plans out of the state guide plan, or you carry out the principles in the state guide plan. Then we can come in and seriously consider about how we bring transit to you, how we make it work, and how we can address your needs. The third thing is we need to take all the transit work that's done, whether it's through statewide planning, as they look at waterborne transportation, or they're working now on the rail plan, or whether it's what DOT does through creating the rail system. We need to look at how all those pieces tie together and make sure that we link. One of the big things we've done through our strategic plan is talk about how we connect the train stations, the airports, with RIPTA to the different parts of the state that people want to get to, and understand what those things are. But there's 2 important things that we also have to really work on and think about in addition to our strategic plan. And I think the one is sustainable transportation funding. I mean, it's been talked about by Mike Lewis. It's been talked a little bit by Mr. Rupp. The gasoline tax is not the right way to fund transit. As Mike Lewis said, the more people who ride bus, the less there is in gasoline tax. So we want people to ride the bus. We want people to use transit. But the more they get on the bus, the more they use transit, the less they're using the car, the less income we have. It's just an odd way. We have to really address that. And one of the other things that we have been working, the RIPTA staff has been working, when I say we, I don't mean the RIPTA board, I mean the RIPTA staff. We've been really looking at the total transportation city system in the state. Most people don't realize, they think of transit and they think of RIPTA. RIPTA has a $75 million budget for its fixed route and its flex service. We have a $25 million budget for the RIDE program, which actually services the staff of the Department of Health and Human Services. What most people don't recognize, the Department of Health and Human Services has an additional $50 million that they spend in transit. The state of Rhode Island is spending $150 million a year in transit. $75 million for RIPTA, $75 million for services through Health and Human Services. That needs to be better controlled and integrated with what RIPTA does. Last year, through the cooperative effort of the RIPTA staff with Health and Human Services was able to save $3.8 million by getting people out of ambulances and into buses and into ride vans. 320 people, that was 320 people, were taken off of ambulances and put on buses or in the ride van program. We saved $3.8 million. This type of analysis and cooperation between departments has to happen so that we can create a better transit system for all. In other states around the country, the work that is done through the Health and Human Services is carried out by private companies. Private company doesn't get into something unless they know they can make money at it. And if they can make money at it, we can figure out a way to save money. I think that's really all I have to say at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to welcome Representative McNamara